Everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 11 and compare it against the iPhone 8 Plus and see which specific phone is a better one for you. Now, both these phones are very good. I've liked both these phones a lot, but clearly the iPhone 11 is the better one in every single area. So I'd probably recommend buying the iPhone 11 over the iPhone 8 Plus. But I think the 8 Plus is still a very, very important phone, and we'll kind of talk about that throughout this video. So if you want to pick up some phones I would recommend buying, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside, the iPhone 8 Plus is clearly the bigger phone overall, but it's a smaller phone in the screen size area. So on the front of the iPhone 8 Plus, we had a 5.5-inch Retina IPS panel, and it was a pretty good screen. I thought it was good at the time. This phone came out in 2017, but definitely it's aged a little bit differently. This phone, as soon as the Apple made the iPhone 10, literally 20 minutes after this iPhone came out, this iPhone looked so old, and even now it still looks very old. It still is kind of a little bit not super outdated because the iPhone SE3 is there. You have very big bezel at the top, very big bezel at the bottom. You have Touch ID right here, which is great. A little bit of bezel around it. I think it's an overall good-looking phone. There's not really a lot to complain about here. I mean, clearly there's a lot of bezel and everything, but we all know about the iPhone 8 Plus now. It's more or less the same old, same old. With the iPhone 11, though, this is a little bit of a newer design. So this iPhone came out in 2019, and it definitely does look far better, in my opinion, than the iPhone 8 Plus. But the funny thing is, this iPhone is even older. Like, this phone doesn't even look that nice compared to the iPhone 14 Pro. So it's funny that this is like a more modern design, even though the iPhone 14 Pro is even more modern than this thing. You have a 6.1-inch Retina IPS panel. So both are IPS panels here. So it's not like we have an OLED here and the other one is not. They're both IPS panels. In fact, the iPhone 8 Plus has a higher resolution panel. So that's another crazy thing. You have the notch up top, you have a little bit of bezel around the whole entire display, but I will still take the design of the iPhone 11 over the design of the iPhone 8 Plus. I feel like the 11 looks that much better, and this one makes a lot more sense to me than the iPhone 8 Plus does. So, in terms of that kind of covers it up there. In terms of thinness and thickness, there's also a little bit of a difference here too. So you can see that between both, the iPhone 8 Plus was actually a pretty thin phone when it first came out for how big of a phone it was. I think the iPhone 11 is slightly thicker, at least that's kind of how I'm seeing it when I'm looking at them side by side. You can see we have the mute switches, we have the volume up and down buttons, which is great, and I definitely do think both phones look pretty good. There's not a crazy amount to complain about here, but I definitely would say that the iPhone 11 is probably the one that when I look at it, it is probably the one that is a pretty solid phone, I would say. On the bottom, we have lightning ports, which is awesome. We have speaker grills on the sides. So this is some really cool stuff as well. Now, on the back of these two phones, we have a dual camera setup. I also have an insanely correct back on the iPhone 8 Plus, which is okay. I can get a skin on it. The iPhone 11 has that dual camera setup here, two different types of layouts, but we'll get into that in a second. We have the Apple logos right here, the standard glass back, so no frosted glass back in either one of these. You have wireless charging on both. You have IP certification on both as well. And both these phones are really good in that sense. I feel like these devices hold up very, very well, especially for the future of these phones. I think that's some really cool stuff that both these phones have going for. And I will probably state that both these phones in this day and age are very good. I like them both a lot. Are one of them perfect? Not really. I think the iPhone 11 is overall the better phone for sure. But I think the iPhone 8 Plus is a better deal in some ways because it is a much cheaper phone nowadays. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now, in terms of software and longevity, this is going to be the area that is probably going to make it or break it for the iPhone 8 Plus. This phone is pretty much outdated with software now, or it's going to be outdated very soon. It might get iOS 17, who knows? But if it doesn't, then this phone is stuck on iOS 16, which is fine. But this phone doesn't really have that much of a future ahead of it. I'm hoping it gets iOS 17 because if it does, well, then it's going to be supported for that much longer. But there's a chance Apple discontinues this phone on iOS 16, which would be kind of sad. But it's going to be one of those things we're going to have to keep our eye out. There's not much insider information we know. With the iPhone 11, this phone is still going to be here for some time. So that's a beautiful thing. Because it came out in 2019, it's approaching 4 years old this year. So it's still going to be here for quite a bit of time. I'm still thinking it's going to be awesome. So I think that's going to be another thing going for the iPhone 11. The fact that we do have a pretty solid device on this thing for sure. So now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 11 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 8 Plus has that Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one's the faster phone between both of these. Okay, there we go. All the apps are clear in the background. 11 here is 8 Plus here, so let's get into it. Phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go up out of here. Music, 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 8 Plus was the faster one. The iPhone 11 a little tiny bit slower. Hopping out of here. Let's do mail, 3, 2, 1. Okay, iPhone 11 is the faster one. Let's go and do their app stores, 3, 2, 1. Okay, not really too sure what to make of this one. Let's go and hop out of these two. Let's go into settings, 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing, hopping out of here. Let's go into their cameras, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think the iPhone 11 was faster there. Hopping out of these two. We have Genshin Impact on both of these, so let me go and find where that one is on the iPhone 11. And of course, it's going to take me 30 minutes. Okay, let's do Subway Surfers, 3, 2, 1. Okay, iPhone 8 Plus was faster. iPhone 11 a little tiny bit behind. Not the biggest deal in the world, but something to kind of keep in mind in the back of your head. Genshin Impact, 3, 2, 1. Now, I always say this is a big game, so we'll just get into the loading panel of it. But I don't know if there's going to be one that's like going to be exponentially crazy faster. I'm thinking the iPhone 11 would probably be the faster one overall. And I don't know which one's faster. I think the iPhone 8 Plus may have been a little tiny bit faster. That's insane if that is actually true. Let's go and try another game. I guess I don't even have that many games on the iPhone 11 anymore, which is very weird. I figured I would have a lot more. We can try something like, Snapchat, which I don't even have here. That's so crazy. Temple Run, 3, 2, 1. And of course, we're on like 3 different panels on both, which is always annoying. Let's go and try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And it looks like the iPhone 8 Plus is the faster one here again. It's so crazy how this kind of stuff happens. You never think a phone that's a couple years older than this phone would actually be faster than it. So in terms of that, it kind of covers it up. I think it's quite clear the iPhone 8 Plus is probably the slower one, but it was faster in some ways, which is crazy. So that kind of covers it up there. In terms of the cameras, like I said before, dual camera setup. So we have a wide and ultra wide camera on the iPhone 11. We have a wide and telephoto lens on the iPhone 8 Plus. So a little tiny bit of a difference, not the end of the world, but that is something to kind of keep in mind there. Now with the iPhone 8 Plus, as I've mentioned, this has always been a pretty solid camera. I've always liked it, but I always like the ultra-wide sensors a little bit more. So with the iPhone 8 Plus, you are getting that 10x zoom, which is always nice. You have that standard 1x zoom, you're getting video mode, portrait mode, square mode, panorama mode. Not the most amount of features, but you're still getting a solid camera overall, which is always nice to have. So I think that's a pretty cool thing going on for this type of phone. With the iPhone 11, on the other hand, this is an ultra-wide camera, and you can do 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which is always nice. I love having that type of capability, even though I rarely ever film in 4K. I just like having it. And with this type of phone, you're getting a 0.5x zoom, so you're getting, I guess, a feature that the iPhone 8 Plus doesn't have, but you're also only getting 5x zoom versus the 10x zoom on the iPhone 8 Plus. So this one cannot zoom in as much, but the iPhone 8 Plus cannot zoom out as much, if that makes sense. You're still getting video mode, you're still getting like portrait mode and panorama mode. It's still very good camera on the iPhone 11, but I still think there's some capability with the iPhone 8 Plus, and it's not just the clear winner on this device, if that makes sense. So to kind of sum up this video, what I'll tell you is, I think the iPhone 11 is clearly the winner. I think this is the phone I'd recommend a majority of people to buy. It just makes sense. I mean, this is a very good phone. It's always been a good phone for me, and this one is probably like $250 now, probably even cheaper than that. So I would just recommend buying this phone over the iPhone 8 Plus all day. But I think the iPhone 8 Plus for some people may actually still be a decent phone. Like if you just want to buy it and just keep it for a year, okay, go for it. Or if you own it, then maybe keep it too. But I would just recommend buying an iPhone 11. There's really no point in buying this phone anymore. So kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.